Understanding the Bible Radio, Ron Saxton here. I want to thank you guys for joining. Appreciate it. Live study. Still going through with the diligence to study. 2 Kings, we're still going through. Going to get it all done today. One shot. That's right. Yes. Listen, no tithing, no seed sowing, no money here, no product sold. Listen. Yeah. Nothing here. No CDs, DVDs, MP3s, nothing of that nature. No ads on the studies. All live study right here. Understanding the Bible Radio, where you get the Hebrew, Greek definitions. Want to thank the Once Saved, Always Saved group on Facebook for allowing us, to put our studies live on their wall. Check them out. Good group. So get yourselves ready. We're going in live. Tomorrow we got some phone fellowship coming up, 7:30 p.m. But get ready for this study.
This is in-depth study of
the
Christ, the propitiation, the begotten Son, the law, the judge, the ruler, the standard, the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, the one, the truth, Jesus Christ. Here on Understanding the Bible Radio, on-screen study, Facebook Live,
yes.
YouTube Live, on-screen undeniable facts of Scripture.
Yeah, continuing to go through 2 Kings. 2 Kings, we've been through all of them. I'm going all the way through. I want to see everything that happened and what the pastors didn't tell me, what they didn't say throughout my decades of religion. I want to see what happened, why it happened, and what was going on. That's what I'm looking at right now. Tomorrow we've got phone fellowship at 7:30 Eastern time. We have a guest who wants to come on, discuss whatever it is that they told them. Whatever it is you want to discuss in regards to the Lord, Scripture, whatever have you, come on in. We're ready. We're ready to do this live on screen. Be here tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern time, PM in the evening, okay? 7:30. Be here. Check it out. And they're kind of give you an idea. They're talking about a lot of end time things and stuff like that. So that's probably where the majority of it will be. Yeah, about some end time stuff. And I'll just share what I've learned and show it to you on screen. Good deal. So we're going to go into our 2 Kings 4. 2 Kings 4. And as you can see right there, 2 Kings. Okay, so I just got it blown up so you can see it on your device in case you're watching on a mobile device. Maybe a small tablet or something like that. All right, so here we go. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha. Okay, Elijah in the previous chapter had been translated, raptured, however they want to call it up, harpazoed, whatever they want to call it. Okay, he did not physically die. The Lord came and took him. All right, Elisha saying, thy servant, my husband, is dead. And thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. Put them in slavery or servanthood, whatever have you. And Elisha said unto her, what shall I do for thee? Tell me. Why hast thou in this house? And she said, thine handmaid hath not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Then he said, go, borrow the vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, and empty vessels. Borrow not a few. So get a whole lot of them, get a lot of them. So she doesn't have anything. Took my husband, he's gone. My son's gone, my husband's gone. My sons, they've been taken away. I don't have anything, so she didn't have any way. I take it to eat or make a living or whatever have you. That's what I would understand. That's what she's saying. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out unto all the vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. Now, this is a story that they told me in my religious days and all this, and then they likened me to it, or likened another woman that was listening to them. and God's gonna be able to supply an abundance of blah 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 to this. That's what they said back then. Well, no one here that I know is Elisha, and you're not a woman that her husband has died or been taken away or killed or whatever, and now the sons is being taken into slavery by the king or by some Gentile nation or anything like that. Okay, and you like I don't know I can't provide for myself now. I can't do anything. That's not happening right now. Okay, so this is not likened to us. This is exactly what happened back then. This really truly happened, and this is account of it, what happened. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. Then she came and told the man of God, Elisha, and he said, Go, sell the oil and pay the debt, and live thou and thy children off the rest. So there was a provision. Okay, that was a provision for her at that time. That's what that was for. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold, now I perceive that this is an holy man of God, which passes by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed and a table and a stool and a candlestick, and it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said unto Gehazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, Say unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldest thou be spoken for to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily, she hath no child, for her husband is old. And he said, Call her. And when he had called her, she stood by the door, and he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that when he went out of to his father to the reapers, he said unto his father, My head, my head. And he said to a lad, Carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees until noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. And she called unto her husband, and said, Send me, I pray thee, one for the young man, one for the young men, and one for the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, It shall be well. Then she saddled an ass, and said to her servant, Drive, and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass, when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi, his servant, Behold, yonder is that Shunammite, Run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, Is it well with thee? It is well with thy husband. Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with thy child? And she answered, It is well. And when she came to the man of God, to the hill, she caught him by the feet, but Gehazi came near to thrust her away. Don't touch the prophet, don't touch him. And the man of God said, Let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her, and the Lord hath hid it from me, and hath not told me. So the Lord didn't tell him why she's doing this. Then she said, Did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? And he said, then he said to Gehazi, Gird up thy loins, and take my staff in thine hand, and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not, for if any salute thee, answer him not again, and lay my staff upon the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And he arose and followed her. And Gehazi passed on before them, and laid the staff upon the face of the child, but there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him, and told him, saying, The child is not awakened. And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead, and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore, and shut the door upon them twain, and prayed unto the Lord. And he went up and lay upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him, and the child ceased 7 times. He sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, Call this Shunammite. So he called her, and when she was come in unto him, he said, Take up thy son. Then she went in and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and took up her son, and went out. And Elisha came again to Gilgal, and there was a dearth in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said unto his servant, Set on the great pot, and seethe pottage for the sons of the prophets. And no one went out into the field to gather herbs, and found one went out into the field and to gather herbs, and found a wild vine, and gathered thereof wild gourds, his lapful, and came and shred them into the pot of pottage, for they knew them not. So they poured out for the men to eat. And it came to pass, as they were eating of the pottage, that they cried out and said, O thou man of God, there is death in the pot. And they could not eat thereof. But he said, Then bring meal. And he cast it into the pot, and said, Pour out for the people, that they may eat. And there was no harm in the pot. So the guy tried to poison everybody, I guess, with the wild herbs. And there came a man from Baal-Shalisha, and brought the man of God bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley, and full ears of corn in the husks thereof. And he said, Give unto the people, that they may eat. And his servitor said, What should I set this before? 100 men? He said again, Give the people, and that they may eat. For thus saith the Lord, They shall eat and shall leave thereof. So he set it before them, and they did eat and left thereof, according to the word of the Lord. That is chapter 4. That's right, chapter 4. So now we're going to chapter 5. Let's see what else took place here. So the little boy was risen from the dead by Elisha there. So you see that. Okay, that's what happened then. That's what happened. Chapter 5. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. Okay, so he had a disease, sickness, or whatever, skin and all that. And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him from his leprosy. And one went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is in the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. And it was also when Elisha, the man of God, had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, and he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Because Jezebel killed all the other ones, I guess, under Ahab. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. And Naaman was wroth, and went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And he didn't do it like he wanted him to do it, in other words. And his servant came near and spake unto him, and said, My father and the prophet had bid thee do some great thing. Wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather than when he hath to thee, wash and be clean? Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again, like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to them. He returned to the man of God, and he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules, burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. In this thing the Lord pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Behold, my master hath spared Naaman this Syrian, in not receiving at his hands that which he brought, but as the Lord liveth, I will run after him to take somewhat of him. And Gehazi followed after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bare them before him. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house, and he let them go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. And he said unto him, Went not mine heart with thee, when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money and a time to receive garments, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and manservants, and maidservants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper, as white as snow. I don't know why I'm thinking that this is the same thing that happened in the last in 1 Kings. I'm going to have to check that again and make sure I didn't do this. But make sure I'm not duplicating this, but this is real deal. Okay? So I'll check it later. We're going to 6 now. 6. And the sons of the prophets said unto Elisha, Behold, now the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Let us go, we pray thee, unto Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make us a place there where we may dwell. And he answered, Go ye. And one said, Be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. And he answered, I will go. So he went with them. And when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, Alas, master, for it was borrowed. And the man of God said, Where fell it? And he showed him the place. This sounds like something I've read already again. Showed him the place, and he cut down a stick and cast it in thither, and the iron did swim. See? Therefore said he, Take it up to thee. And he put out his hand and took it. And the king of Syria warred against Israel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, In such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, Beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned of him, and saved himself there, not once or twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing, and he called servants and said unto them, Will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, None of my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, Go and spy where he is, and that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host of compasses, the horses compassed, All right. And behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed in the Lord and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes, and that he may see. And the Lord opened his eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots and fire round about Elisha. Okay. And they went, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto them, This is not the way, neither is this city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass, when they were come unto the Samaria, that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, My father, shall I smite them? And shall I smite them? And he answered, Thou shalt not smite them. Wouldest thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. And he said, and he prepared great provision for them. And then they had eaten, and when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host and went up and besieged Samaria, and there was a great famine in Samaria. And behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of dove's dung, for 5 pieces of silver. And as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, Help, my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord doth not help thee, whence shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor, or out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, This woman said unto me, Give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. I've seen this before. Have I? So we boiled my son, and we did eat him. Yeah, I said cannibalism back there. Okay. And I said unto her on the next day, Give thy son, that we may eat him. And she hath hid her son. Cannibalism, for real. And it came to pass, when the king heard the words of the woman, that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the upon the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Then he said, God do so and more also to me, if the head of Elisha the son of Shaphat shall stand on him this day. But Elisha sat in his house at the elders, and the elders sat with him, and the king sent a man from before him, but ere the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, See how this son of a murderer has sent to take away mine head. Look, when the messenger cometh, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? And while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him, and he said, Behold, this evil is of the Lord. What should I wait for the Lord what should I wait for the Lord any longer? He said it right. That King James English, I tell you. Chapter 7. I don't know why I think I went through this already. I hope I didn't do this already. I think I was doing 1 Kings. All right. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow, about this time, shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. Then a lord on horse on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die? I could swear I've been here before. I hate it. I hope I ain't got to go back to that other book and check those out. I got to check them out. If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die thereof, and we shall die there. If we still sit there, we die. Also now, therefore, come and let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. And they rose in the twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there, for the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents, and left their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid. And they said one to another, we do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. And if we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the porter of the city, and they told them, saying, We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night, and said unto his servants, I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry. Therefore are they gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, When they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. And one of his servants answered and said, Let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel, that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed, and let us send and see. They took thereof 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, Go and see. And they went after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king, and the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So the measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate. And the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spake when the king came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God and said, Now behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And so it fell out unto him, for the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. There you go. One more. I think we can get one more, guys. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Right, verse 1. Get all that. Then spake Elisha, unto the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise and go, thou and thine household, and sojourn whatsoever thou canst sojourn. For the Lord hath called for a famine, and it shall come upon the land 7 years. And the woman arose and did after the saying of the man of God, and she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. And it came to pass at the 7 years end, the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines, and she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. And the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, I pray thee, all the great things that Elisha hath done. And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he restored a dead body to life, that, behold, the woman whose son had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elijah restored to life. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field since the day that she left the land, even until now. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, all right, the king of Syria, was sick, and it was told him, saying, The man of God is come thither. And the king said unto Ahazel, Take a present in thine hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? And Hazael, okay, went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burden, and came and stood before him, and said, Thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? And Elisha said unto him, Go, say unto him, Thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord hath showed me that he shall surely die. And he settled his countenance steadfastly until he was ashamed. And the man of God wept. And Hazael said, Why weepeth my Lord? And he answered, Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and will dash their children, and rip up their women with child. And Hazael said, But what, is thy servant a dog, that he should do this great thing? And Elisha answered, The Lord hath showed me that thou shalt be king over Syria. So he departed from Elisha, and came to his master, who said to him, What said Elisha unto thee? And he answered and told me that thou shouldest surely recover. And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth, and dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his stead. Okay. And the 5th year of Jeroboam, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being the king of Judah, Jehoram The son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign 32 years old as he was when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, and he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did the house of Ahab, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. I thought we went through this before. Maybe it's just a recap or something that's showing some detail out of First Kings. It's not in Second Kings. Okay, maybe that's it. Okay. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light, and to his children. In his days Edom revolted under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. So Joram went over to Zair, and all the chariots with him, and he arose by night and smote the Edomites which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and people fled into their tents. Yet Edom revolted under the hand of Judah unto this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time, and the rest of the acts of Joram, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Joram slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Ahijah his son reigned in his stead. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Joram, king of Judah, began to reign. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel, and he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of the Lord, as did the house of Ahab, for he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, into the war against Ahaziel, king of Syria, in Ramoth Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram, and King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah. When he fought against Hazael of Joram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. All right. I don't think I can get another chapter out, but I'll be back no later than 8 minutes. We'll start with the next one. This has been 2 Kings 8. We're getting them all done today. Going through, seeing what happened in these time of the kings of Israel. Kings that have been appointed all the way from 1 Samuel. Yeah. So we will see it, and I'll be back. I want to thank you guys for sticking around. If not, I'll see you when I see you. Be back in a few.
Please allow us to extend our deepest thanks, our humblest appreciation, our greatest gratitude for your fellowship here with us, sharing the letter of the gospel, the ancient definitions of Scripture. This is Understanding the Bible.